All right, guys, welcome to another live stream. Welcome to another live stream. Happy Sunday. Let me check my mic on YouTube. Remember, if you watch a live stream and you can't hear the mic, make sure you let me know in the comments. But I'll also go and check on YouTube just to make sure. All right. All right, so it sounds like it sounds good. All right. All right, cool. All right, so 5 things you should not spend your money on. Again, we could probably expand this list, but these are just the 5 things that come to mind. So number one are lotto tickets. Now, a long time ago, probably when I was like, I think you can only buy lotto tickets if you're 18. So it was probably like from 18 to 20, 21. I would purchase lotto tickets every now and then. And, also during that time period, I would get a lot of scratch offs too. And this is when I was not financially literate. I would just go purchase some. I think I bought like $50 or $100 worth of scratch offs at one point, one time. But yeah, I used to do that because I thought I would hit, some mega jackpot. They had those win for life tickets. So I was like, man, if I could just win 5,000, 6,000 for life, that would be great. But then, I became a lot more financially literate. And, I found that there's ways to make money. And that it's not going to get you lotto life gains, but you could double or triple your money if you get into quality blue chip assets. And then I discovered crypto, and that was a whole nother thing where it was like you can 10 to 20x your money if you get into the right projects. So there's ways to, multiply your money without playing the lotto, right? The statistics for winning the lottery are, like more than one in a million, right? It's like probably more like 1 in 100 million. So you're not going to win the lotto. If you do, you're probably going to spend thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars trying to win it. And it's just a waste of money, right? You can use that money to actually invest in real assets. And a lot of the times people that invest in the lotto, my grandparents do it all the time, but they're really not too, they're older, right? They're in their 70s and they don't really know much about the stock market. So for them, that's their stock market. Now they do have a 401k, they do have stuff like that, but they still play the lotto and they still think, they're going to hit big. And I'm pretty sure over the last 30 years, they probably spent thousands of dollars playing the lotto where they could have probably put that money in the S&P, a blue chip stock like Apple, Nvidia, and let's just say they spent $5,000 on lotto tickets over the course of 10 to 15 years, right? That 5,000 could have probably been close to 100,000 in the right blue chip asset. And not even in the right blue chip asset. If you stick to, the top 7, Tesla, Nvidia. Now, again, a lot of people didn't know much about Nvidia back then, so that would probably been something that somebody probably would have not invested in. But even today, like I would say a couple years ago, Nvidia, was pretty popular, but still had a lot of room to grow, right? Because I think just a couple years ago it was at 3 to 400, and it went all the way to 1,200. Right now, I did the stock split. It's at 120, I think $120. But I think it has a lot more room to grow. So I still think you could make money on Nvidia, not financial advice, but I'm just saying, if somebody spent 5 to 10,000 on lotto tickets, that money over 5 to 10 years probably could have been close to 100 grand, right, in the right blue chip assets. So yeah, don't spend your money on lotto tickets. It's a waste of money. You're not going to win. If you do win, you probably just get enough to cover the cost of the scratch off or the ticket, and then it's just gonna. That's how they do it. They kind of manipulate you to think you're gonna win by giving you, like, let's say you paid $2 for the ticket, their algorithm will have you win $2 so that way you, or a free ticket, and then you could get another free ticket, and they kind of just play that game so that way you can end up spending more money and think you're going to win, right? So just don't buy lotto tickets. All right, number two is, fancy trips, fancy vacations early on. Now, I'm not saying you can't go on a 1 or 2 day vacation to New York or, LA or Miami or whatever the case may be. But I think you should limit luxury vacations or very expensive vacations in the beginning. And I'm talking about like overseas, so like Italy, Greece, all those things, and or all those places. And what we have to blame here is yourself, one, for taking it, and then two, kind of social media, because now people are able to see the world and see a lot more things on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and most likely it's celebrities that you're seeing travel here, travel there, and most people want to go to those places, and they end up extending themselves financially to travel to those places when they can't afford to do so, right? If you look, I mean, even a trip right now to New York probably cost me $200 to $300, right? And that's not even like it's just regular seat, not business class, first class, or whatever, however you like to travel. So it's going to be $200 to $300 round trip, and when you get there, you most likely, if you don't have somebody to stay with, you're going to need a hotel. So let's just say it's 3, 4, or 5 days. Decent hotel nowadays is going to cost you $300 to $500 a night, right? So let's just go on the low end, $300, 3 nights. That's 900. You paid 300 for the, 300 for the flight. You're at $1,200. You need to eat, so 1,200 plus, let's just say another 200 to 300 for food. 14. So it stacks up just doing a simple trip, right? So imagine if you went to Italy, the flight's probably going to be thousands of dollars. You're going to have to pay a lot for a hotel. So it's probably going to run you 5 to 10,000 to do those type of trips. So you shouldn't do those trips early on until you get your financial your financials in a good place, right? Most people like to follow what others are doing, and most of the time, I wouldn't say most of the time, because a lot of the people that you see on social media that are taking those trips, they're also extending themselves. They can't afford it, so it's just you have a bunch of people that can't afford it and following other people that can't afford it. Right? There's probably like 5 to 10% of those people that are actually financially stable that are able to take those trips. And yeah, you're being confused by the mass that can't afford it, that are taking those trips, and you're thinking that it's a normal thing to do to travel to Italy or Greece, twice a year or whatever the case may be. So, and again, a good rule of thumb is if you had to save up like a year or two to go on the trip, probably can't afford it, right? Probably you're not in a good space. I would say, honestly, for those type of trips, you should at least have 10 to 15 times the amount saved up before you can go on a trip like that. Most people, there was somebody saying, or there's like a saying that says, if you can't afford it 2 to 3 times, don't do it. I honestly think that's just too small of an amount. Like if I had to take a trip for, let's just say it cost $10,000, everything included, and I only had 30,000 in the bank, I would not take that trip. Like for me to take a $10,000 trip, I would need to have 100K plus, and even 100K is kind of like, cutting it close for me. So yeah, you need to make sure you have your financials in order before you take those luxury trips. I know you could get sidetracked by what people are doing on social media and end up spending a lot of money that you could have just invested that would have put you in a better financial space, and you could have took that trip a little later in a better financial position, right? Okay, so that's number 2, a luxury luxury trips. Don't go on luxury trips early. I'm not saying you can't do it ever, but make sure you're financially stable. All right. So three is a luxury vehicle. This is a good one because I'm actually I lease for most of you that watch my channel know that I lease. I think it's just better because in my situation, because it's like I don't have to deal with car problems. So I do get a new car every 2 to 3 years, but I do work out the lease terms with the dealership. I don't just take whatever they give me. I try to get the best. I try to negotiate the best terms, and I usually end up getting a pretty good deal. And I don't have to come up with a lump sum amount of cash. But I just think vehicles in general are, they're a waste of money. Now, I actually do want a sports car in the future. I do. That's actually something that I want. So I know when I do that, it's going to be a waste of money. But again, when I do that, it's going to be because I'm in the financial space to do it, in the right financial space to do it. But yeah, I think in general, luxury vehicle. If you're going to get a vehicle, make sure it's not crazy luxury. Like a Mercedes or an Audi or things like BMW. Those type of vehicles, they're very expensive to maintain. You're gonna have a high monthly payment, and even if you lease those vehicles, it's gonna be hard to get a good lease terms without putting a lot of money down. So it's just gonna be very difficult to make sense of that if you don't have your financials in order. So yeah, avoid luxury vehicles if you could. You should be able to avoid it. I mean, if you just need to get from point A to point B, that's good. I'm trying to get an electric vehicle, so it's going to cut out my gas costs, and I'm going to try to lease the vehicle. If not, I may purchase it, but I'm definitely thinking about it from a financial perspective. Okay, I'm going to save on gas. Where I live, I can charge for free, so it's like $250 to $300 I'm saving a month on gas, and then if I don't lease it, I will try to stick to a car that's 30 to 35, and then that's going to be a car that I use almost forever. And then, obviously I said I want to get a sports car, so that's probably something I'll lease, or, when I do it, I'll be in a good financial space to do it. And I'll know that it's a bad purchase. That's another thing too, right? You can have the money. I think you could make a bad purchase, but I think knowing that it's a bad purchase is half of the battle too. Like I said, I want to get a sports car. I know it's a bad purchase, so at least when I do it, one, I know it's a bad purchase, and two, I should be in the financial space to do it before I do something like that, right? So I think that's a big important thing from like all these purchases, right? So let's just say you just like to buy lotto tickets, right? And let's just say you had an allowance of $100 to $200 a month to spend on whatever you want, whether it's clothes, whatever. So maybe you do spend it on lotto tickets, but as long as you know it's a dumb purchase, I think that is the biggest thing you could probably take away here. Know it's a dumb purchase and be able to afford it, right? So if lotto tickets is what you use your allowance on, then so be it, right? So that's 3 luxury cars. Don't get luxury cars. Try to stick to, the generic Toyotas, Honda. I do Lexus, but it's kind of like Toyota. It's part of that thing. And like I said, I got a real good deal. I'm paying $463 a month. I didn't put much down. I think I put like $1,000 down, and I got the deal during COVID. So there, if you work it right, you can get a good deal, right? All right. So that's number 3. Number four, and let me think because I lost track of my list. So we said lotto tickets, we said luxury trips, we said vehicles, and what else was on my list? Oh, designer clothes. All right, so designer clothes is number 4. Expensive clothes, designer clothes, luxury clothes. Now, you could get a nice piece of clothing every now and then, but for most of my stuff comes from like H&M, Boo Man is another one that I use. It's an online thing. I use Gymshark. Gymshark is actually pretty cheap for gym clothes and things like that. But I do get a lot of gym stuff from H&M. So most of my clothes are pretty inexpensive. They're very cheap, and you shouldn't be spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on clothes. I know nowadays for shoes, I actually do like sneakers, but I'm not, it's just more like running sneakers and things like that. But I try to keep it within a certain budget. I don't try to spend 200-300 bucks for shoes. Even though for guys' shoes, it's kind of hard to get decent sneakers for 150 or lower. So I try to stay 150 or lower when it comes to running shoes, and I don't try to do it all the time. Um, and if I do, again, I have a budget for it. But just $300-400, $1,000 for sneakers, or like 100-200 bucks for a shirt, it's just ridiculous. You could get a decent shirt for 30-50 bucks, like a nice dressy shirt. And then like shirts you're just gonna go to the gym for, 30 bucks or less. I think it's a good spot. I know things are getting expensive, so these ranges will change from time to time, but you kind of know what luxury and designer stuff is, right? Like your Louis Vuittons, your Gucci's, your those things where you're spending 150 for a polo, or 200-300 for some jeans. And I know jeans can get expensive, but you can get some good jeans from like Express for like 80-90 bucks, right? That are gonna last you for a long time. All right, so that's number 4. And again, social media plays a big part of this, to where you think you have to get these type of things because the people you follow are doing it. But again, they're probably extending themselves financially, or they're in a better financial position for you. And most likely they're extending themselves financially. So yeah. All right. So number 5. Number 5 is and again, I'm coming up with this list off the top. I did have 5, but then I lost like my train of thought. So again, let's go over it. Number 1, lotto tickets. Number 2, luxury vehicle. Number 3 was number 2 was luxury trips. Number 3, luxury vehicle, and then 4, designer clothes. Let's see, what else do people spend their money on that that is not a good investment. I do see people extend themselves with a lot of subscriptions too. I would say I do have a decent amount of subscriptions, but I did cut back on a lot of those. So, if you have subscriptions that you're, 10, 15 subscriptions, sometimes you can forget that you have those subscriptions. So I would definitely every month just check, like, okay, I have a gym membership, I have Apple, I have this. Okay, I use all those things. That's okay. I would say around 5 to 6 subscriptions, depending if you have work. I know when I was editing my videos, I had a lot more subscriptions. Like I have a subscription for this live thing that I'm doing. It's Ecamm, so it allows me to go live. So things for work is fine, but when you got all these, stuff for like movies, and you have 4 different movie subscriptions. Like, do you really need 4 different movie subscriptions? No, right? You could go. I have none of those. I cut my Netflix. I just use YouTube. So yeah, it's one of those things where you should be evaluating like every month. Like, do I need this subscription? Can I save money on this? It's costing me $40-50 a month, and a lot of these subscriptions are getting a lot more expensive, right? It's easy to forget about a $35 or $20 subscription that's coming out each month, because it's relatively small. So it's just coming out and you're not seeing it. And that's how a lot of these subscription services get you, because they place it for 20 to 30 bucks. They have 1,000 to 3,000 people signing up, and they're not going to notice this. So, and if it's somewhat valuable, you may forget about it, and then you just pay it each month. So yeah. So yeah, those are the 5 things that you should not spend money on. And if you do spend money on it, just know it's not a good purchase. And if you can afford it, then it's fine, right? So again, number one is lotto tickets. Number two is luxury vacations. Number three is luxury vehicles. Number four, designer luxury clothes. Number five are a significant amount of subscriptions that you're not using, right? All right. Make sure you guys go follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Instagram, Mr. Financial Nutrition, TikTok, Financial Nutrition. I did create a new banner for my YouTube page, so you'll see my handles if you ever forget them. So just go. You can't see it on the phone. Like if you're looking at a phone, you got to look at it on the laptop. And I may switch that later, but I like the way it looks now, so I'm just going to keep it like that. But yeah, go follow me on those platforms. I post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday through the week. Now I have a new posting time where it's like around 3 p.m. And then today, Sunday, I post from 11 to 12. All right, so check me out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.